Hello guys, welcome back to Comic Book Cafe, and this week we start off with the new release of Spawn Resurrection 1. Now, I remember 22 years ago when the original Spawn 1 was released. I remember, McFarlane was one of my favorite artists at the time when he was at Marvel and doing Spider-Man and stuff, and I loved his work. And when he found out, Image was formed and he was doing Spawn 1, I was all in, right? Bought the first issue and loved the character Al Simmons and Spawn. But obviously, as it went along, truthfully, the war in the comic took way too long, it dragged out too long, and eventually I just simply lost interest. And here we are many years later. Spawn hits issue 250 with a very surprising end that Al Simmons returns. And so here we are with Spawn Resurrection 1. Now you're asking, what's Spawn making, with him coming back at the end of 250, what are they doing in Spawn Resurrection 1 to reboot the character, right? Because that's the whole point. Okay, he's back. What's he going to do now, right? Because at the end of Spawn 185, Al Simmons killed himself. He was done with the game, he was sick of everything, and he killed himself. Simple. So you start off with him having himself on a crucifixion, basically self-tormenting himself, more or less. And a dog walks up, starts talking to him. Asking him, do you remember the last time you seen him? And of course, he said, I remember you. I had a dog when I was 9. And this dog proposes to him that he is God. Of course, Al Simmons doesn't believe he's God, but he goes through, the reason you're here is your love. That's what you always kind of fought for, is love. Again, Al Simmons doesn't believe him. They go through, real quickly, important parts of Al Simmons' life when he was 10, the last time he had innocence. The day he was going to marry Wanda, show her in her wedding dress, and then they start going to when she was pregnant, the surprise that, and then they go through they get to the heart-wrenching stuff, right? When the baby, heartbeat stops and stuff, and him, being devastated by that, and all, him obviously getting killed by his friend, and then his friend getting close to his wife, really, part of a plan, and then you find out that even him becoming Spawn was a plan, and then you find it was a plan, him killing himself. And the reason that God proposes a plan is, let's be honest, their little section of hell they had in the comic book, they couldn't just go there anymore, right? They've been there a lot. So how do you switch that around? And that's what they do in this book. That basically God says that is just a small portion of hell. That hell is very vast and very deep. And instantly, bam, you open up a whole new world for Spawn, meaning all this area, who knows what it is he could go to, or who's down there, or what new enemies could be there, right? But that wasn't enough. What's his mission going to be, right? What is he after this time, right? That's the point you're asking. Okay, so there's more hell. Why would he care? He's done. Well, then God shows him something that happened 2 days ago. Wanda happened to go down the wrong street, one-way street, wrong time, wrong day. Anything to spark off this huge riot between these two groups, right? And bam, she ends up being the wrong person at the wrong time. Ends up being a big fight. They end up, group snapping on her, and they end up basically, throwing something in her car, which sets it on fire. She's stuck in her seatbelt, and Wanda burns to death. At the very end, saying, hush, little baby, don't say a word. Because last thought you find out that she had was of their unborn child. And so he asks him, why are you showing me this? How come you're God, you did not help her? And God proposed this early on, the character, supposedly the dog that's God, early on, if he's really God, of course, is that the universe was dark and vast, and he created planets, created stuff. But when he created everything perfectly, it was boring. He knew how everything was going to go. Everything was, always knew how everything was going to be. So he created humanity. But what he did when he created humanity was he made himself forget how it would all end. So that it would be, surprise and not so perfect, like everything would always happen a certain way. And then he says, well, one of the things he forgot until, I guess, Wanda died and that stuff, and now Simmons' thing was that there was a war coming. And so he said that, you know, you know, Al, you need to be this for, not for me, not for you. Be the champion for them. Didn't actually get into who they were. But anyway, you find out that Wanda's gone to hell to find the unborn child. That these evil people in hell took the soul of his unborn child. There's our setup for beginning of Spawn 251, because 251 is going to be the next Spawn issue after this. So that's the setup. Spawn's going to go find his wife, going to go, you know, his unborn child, and is going to fight whatever evil is down there. We don't know who it is. They haven't said anything like that. That's for later, obviously. It can't kind of put everything out in one book, you know. But the fact that Al Simmons came back, you know, a lot of people excited. So God says he needs to be more powerful, and he said he kind of helped him with the sword of his. And he grabs the sword, and it kind of looks, he's all stealthy, but then he transports, I guess, to Earth, and or wherever, and he's gonna get ready to go to hell and go fight and, you know, find his wife and his unborn child and everything else. So that is our setup to the new Spawn. This is the new direction of Spawn. The whole Jim Downing thing's over. As far as we know, it's over. Again, the end of 250 didn't actually end Jim Downing's story, in a sense. We didn't really see a conclusion to him. But Al Simmons' story, that's how they're going to go with it. Wanda's always been the drive with him anyway, so here we go. There we go. Again, interesting, and it was actually more of a psychological issue than, you know, like a lot of necessarily action. So we'll have to see the next issue on how this is going to turn out. Again, it was a nice start, a nice setup. Again, new writer, you know, McFarlane's basically giving somebody else the writing to go do Spawn, go be creative with it, and hopefully we have a new direction for Spawn, because I always have had a soft spot for Spawn. I just never liked the direction the books have come, and this was a very good book. This is the right direction for Spawn. If you're someone who hasn't checked out, this is definitely an issue to check out. A good starting point if you've never read Spawn, because this is a way to jump into it. Or if you've jumped out of it, it is another way to jump into it. But overall, a really good book. I really did like it. If you read the book, love to hear your comments below. Love to hear when you actually, if you read Spawn, when did you jump off? Like, what was the issue that you said, you know, I'm done? And would you be willing to give another chance? Because again, this was actually really well done. Again, I've always loved the artwork in Spawn. It's just more of a, you know, the story at the time. So, again, nice, cool focus for the character, and see them keep it up. Make Spawn, again, interesting and relevant, because Spawn was very popular, but obviously died off because, you know, again, if you promise something in a book and the book never actually pays off or takes too long, people don't care anymore. So, anyway, a lot of your guys' opinions like always, and I will make another video soon.